What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast. Today we're bringing you episode 44. Ains here with Dan and Bert as usual. Going to be talking about some of the financial results for all three console makers. We got their investors and financial reports this week. Talking about Quantic Dream, Kingdom Hearts 3, played a whole lot of Anthem, and we have a really strange but enticing rumor that we just heard in the last day or two as well. Bert's going to be reviewing Resident Evil 2 for us, and then we'll talk about a few more things as well. So, guys, let's kick it off with the financial results for the consoles. And as we always talk about here, we own and play all three consoles, and we try to keep telling people that all three are doing very well. And we got proof of that this week. So all three companies, gave out their investors reports for the fiscal year. And let's start with the Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo Switch, now over 32 million Switches have been sold in less than 2 years, which is incredibly impressive. It's actually faster not only than the Xbox One, but faster than even the PS4. Smash Brothers, that came out just over a month ago, is the fastest selling title in Nintendo's history. So if you just kind of wrap your mind around that for a second and think about all the major Mario games and Zelda games and Mario Kart games, the new Smash Brothers is the fastest selling ever at over 12 million copies. And they announced that Nintendo Online, despite only launching, 4 or 5 months ago, is already over 8 million subscribers. So about 25% of the player base on the Switch. So this is all very, very positive news for the Switch. And as we've talked about, whatever they're doing it right. And they just continue to show some really impressive numbers here.
Yeah, it's funny because I heard that the only other consoles that are anywhere near this in overall sales is going to be the Wii and the PlayStation 2. So we'll see where it actually ends up. A lot of steam starting out for the Switch. We've talked about Switch sales numbers being pretty impressive for the last few Bitcasts, and now we're kind of seeing everything kind of culminate to what their grand total and numbers are. And it'd be interesting to see if the steam continues. There's been a lot of rumors coming out of a potential new mini Nintendo Switch, obviously rumors. I wonder if that'll slow down it or increase it even crazier for Switches sold. I'm assuming people that are big, early console adopters are probably going to want that mini or whatever that rumored new console is going to be. And that'll probably increase the numbers again and make it kind of inflate even bigger. So Nintendo's known for doing this. If you just follow their Nintendo DS release calendar, there was a Nintendo DS, there was a Nintendo DS Lite, then it came the Nintendo 3DS and the 2DS, and now back to the 2DS. So just in the DS family, we're looking at 5+ different consoles. And then when you add all the skins into it, it gets even crazier. So expect to see this happening. And this is just kind of weird for it to be technically a home console, even though it's more of a portable console and people play kind of 50-50 we've seen. A lot of people play on the go, some people play at home dock. So very cool to see from the Switch.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, we never really are surprised at these Nintendo numbers. I mean, it's just they just keep doing it, man. Almost a 33 or a little bit over 33, right? Percent attach rate for Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
gross.
It's crazy. Crazy.
That's nuts. And the 8 million Nintendo Online users, I know it doesn't necessarily provide a whole lot, but it's only $20. So you basically get that emulator where you can play your NES games and Smash Brothers online. I mean that doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, Nintendo does Nintendo, and they do it really, really well, and they're going to keep doing it. I'm not sure about this little mini Switch. I think that's, the console nobody ever asked for. So, but it is what it is. I'd like to see it better. We've talked about it before, a lot better version of the Switch.
A higher end Switch.
Yeah, higher end, right. Instead of giving me a smaller one. I can't see the stuff on the screen as it is now. I need something with a little bit higher definition. So we'll see where they go. Probably up. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, one other interesting note here is that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the port from the Wii U, is now the best-selling game on the Switch with over 15 million copies. So that's nearly half of all Switch owners have owned Mario Kart 8, which was a Wii U title originally. So
yeah, and if you combine the Wii U sales to the Switch sales, oof.
Yeah,
it's stupid because the Wii U, if I'm not mistaken, the Mario Kart Deluxe was the Wii U highest selling exclusive as well. So,
and does that include the fact that Mario Kart came with a lot of it came bundled with the Switch, especially
they probably include that too.
They include that too. Okay, it makes probably a little bit more sense then.
But to Bert's point, that means Mario Kart 8 is probably a 20+ million copy selling game.
Crazy.
bonkers.
Which is something you don't see on PlayStation or Xbox at all.
No.
Even if you look at something like a Halo, so you got the Halo 1 for the OG Xbox, and it kind of remastered, and then now it's on. The numbers still don't come close to that. So it's stupid. So
yeah, the best-selling Halo game is Halo 3 at about 13 million. So just puts it in perspective. All right, so PlayStation. We all kind of know PlayStation's been killing it, and no surprise here with the financial results. If there is a surprise, it's honestly how big it's grown year over year. So we are now at 94 million PS4s shipped. So somewhere probably, just over 90 million sold through, maybe something like that. It is on a pace very similar to the PS2. The PS2 obviously had that really long tail at the end, which took it to be the best-selling console of all time. Whether or not the PS4 will continue to do that, we'll see. We've kind of mentioned that before. But here's the interesting thing about PlayStation. So year over year, quarter results, so this fiscal quarter for PSN and network services are up 45%. So that is just tremendous growth. And now PSN revenue, which includes all network services, things like PS Now, PS Plus subscribers, digital purchases, all of that all up, $12.5 billion annually, which is more than all of Microsoft's gaming division. So that's more than Xbox is worth, and it's more than Nintendo is worth. Just PSN and the network services for PlayStation.
It's insane, man. I mean, it's just insane, but awesome at the same time. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm not a huge numbers guy, so I look at these numbers and I go, I don't know what that means. But all I see is $12.5 billion annually just for the network revenue. That's gross. That's so much money. And they're just sitting there,
It's so big for Sony. It's bolstered the company because the company,
just smoking their cigars and
Sony. A lot of divisions of Sony were struggling or downright in trouble, and PlayStation 4 has just been so popular. It's really bolstered the company.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Sony brand, if you remember 80s and 90s, everybody wanted a Sony TV, you wanted your Walkman, you wanted your CD player, etc. And then the 2000s came around and Sony as a company struggling altogether. TVs started losing quality. There was no longer a need for a Walkman or a Discman, or I forgot what the little MP3 players they had were, and all of a sudden Apple took over that industry. So Sony kept the PlayStation 4, I should say, that brand has kept Sony alive, and now Sony's making a slight comeback with TVs and stuff again. So very cool to kind of see. Just for your historical record, the PlayStation 2 was on sale from the year 2000 to the year 2012. That's how long they were in production. And the overall sales of the PlayStation 2 was around 153 to 154 million consoles sold. The reason I mention all that is because the PlayStation 4 is on a higher track record as far as getting to where PlayStation 2 was at this point in their sales area. So where is the PlayStation 4 going to end? Being that the rumored consoles are coming in the next 2 years, is it going to be anywhere near 154 million? Is it going to be 160, 170? We don't know. What kept the PS2 alive for so much is the other regions of the world that had that console for so long. Places like South America, Africa, and parts of certain Asian countries that, still to this day, funny enough, still play their PlayStation 2. So we'll see if the PlayStation 4 does the same thing. Overall, amazing numbers. Good for them. It's good to see them to be so successful and keeping the competition alive for the other two big makers.
Yeah, I just hope, and obviously I think they probably do, but I just hope this is being reinvested, right, for just more games and the PS5 and everything else instead of propping up other parts of Sony. So I'm sure it is, and should be some future things we'll see that'll be impressive.
Yeah, big talk right now is that backwards compatibility coming next gen. We'll see what happens, but we're not going to flame that.
We'll talk about that when we know more. All right, moving to Xbox. So very impressive numbers here as well. So as we always talk about, we don't have specific console sale numbers. There was a kind of insider information that came out a couple weeks ago that said the low 40s in millions of units sold. We just know it's somewhere in that ballpark, low to mid 40s. The interesting numbers here are, again, growth. So year over year growth for the Microsoft gaming division, which is obviously Xbox, up 23% year over year. Their software and services, very similar to PSN or on PlayStation side, up 31% year over year. And the Xbox division now worth $11.5 billion annually. The last report was that they were worth $10 billion annually. So just in this last quarter, the overall growth of the Xbox brand has gained $1.5 billion in 3 months. And then other interesting thing here is they announced there's now 64 million active monthly Xbox Live users. Sorry, that was a mouthful to say. But 64 million people sign into Xbox Live every month. If you recall, that's up substantially because the last report we got on that was in the high 50s, around 56 to 57 million, only 3 months ago as well. So Xbox Live is really taking off and growing as well.
Yeah, for me, one of the big things that's been interesting this generation is how Sony and Microsoft have gone two completely different directions as to what they want to do when capturing their audience and their gamers. And it's kind of been cool to see how Game Pass and backwards compatibility has had more interest than people initially gave it credit for. If you remember, the big narrative at this thing is narrative at the start of this generation is nobody wants to play backwards compatibility games. No one wants to play those old games. Well, that has flamed where we currently are moving to backwards compatibility being something more of almost a requirement for new consoles to come out. And Nintendo has had to kind of give something in their online service to do that. Now Sony's thinking about what is the best thing we need to do for next generation for that. And Game Pass, Game Pass has turned out to be a huge success, and Microsoft should be I guess almost complimented for it, I guess you could say. I've played a lot of games that I never thought I would play. And I've enjoyed most of them. Some of them I'm kind of glad I never played them after playing them. But it's good to see that Microsoft's doing so well, and they have found a way to pick up from the ashes a successful end towards their generation. So I like to see what they're doing and what they'll do next gen.
Yeah, excuse me. Ooh. I don't understand the 64 million monthly Xbox Live users when they have much fewer consoles sold. But I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
Includes PC too.
Oh, that's PC too. Okay.
It's Xbox Live as a service, right? So if you game on PC on any Xbox games, Forza, Gears, you're still going into Xbox Live.
Yeah, and then last gen 360 still played heavily around the world.
Yeah, right. Okay, that makes sense now. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, this is good, man. Like I said, I'm not a numbers guy, so this kind of thing just kind of, I just look at it and be like, and just like, okay, if anybody says that any of these companies are doing poorly, they're idiots. So, you will, and with the backwards compatibility stuff, we saw rumors for the PlayStation 5 this week. Just rumors, and I think that's a lot of that's because people have these larger digital libraries now, and they want to be able to access these things.
Sure.
We see even on PC now with Epic Game Store, people are complaining about, having to use two different launchers and stuff. And they want everything in one little space. Well, that kind of goes to the same, if Sony comes out and does not allow me to play my PS4 games on my PS5, I'm going to be very, very disappointed, because I don't want to have 15 consoles sitting on my shelf. I don't have room for it. So it just makes sense, and as far as the numbers, I'm not, like I said, it's crazy. It's crazy how much money is actually going into these things that people are, and it blows my mind. I just can't even.
I don't think as kids we really ever imagined that it would have been this big and this popular, and it's only just getting started. It's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
But to your point, I think you're talking about the digital services. I think one of the things, to Bert's point, that Xbox has done well in the latter part of this generation is change that conversation, because without Game Pass, without backwards compatibility, next generation may look different. I don't think Sony would be pursuing it as broadly, but they've had a lot of outcry about not supporting backwards compatibility on the PS4, and PS Now being a poor substitute for that. So I think that's probably forced Sony's hand to say, we have to include it in the PS5. We just have to.
Well, it's not like they can't afford it.
Hire a few more engineers.
No kidding.
Yeah. I just have two quick points, and it's if you combine Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, and think about how much they're worth on an annual basis, and you compare that to any other industry, it makes everything else look tiny. And it's, as Ain said, it's only going to get bigger. You add PC gaming into that, it's even crazier. You're looking at over $50 billion a year. So it's really hard to think of any industry. The other thing I think is funny is we've talked about this a couple of times, but if you think of what Microsoft's aim was at the beginning of the generation and they got trashed on, and where the generation is ending, it makes you wonder, Microsoft was on it to the point as to where it was going to go. They were just unfortunately poorly timed in their execution. You look at someone like Dan, who is all digital and has talked about how they should have a better way of dealing with digital stuff. Well, guess who talked about that at the beginning? And guess who said that physical was the only way to go at the beginning of this generation, where we are today? So it's just kind of funny. Gaming industry evolves like crazy. People's narratives change from whatever side you're looking at, and where it moves to is always interesting. And I can't wait to see what the next generation brings along and what the narratives are at the start of that generation.
Yeah, it's true, really. It is funny to reflect on. And to be honest, if you follow more of the corporate stuff, that's the story of Microsoft. They are ahead of the curve with so many ideas and inventions and industries, and then they just don't execute it well. And some other company comes along, executes it better, and they kind of take it over. Apple's a perfect example. They know their market, and they optimize things well for the industry. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, the other funny thing about Apple, as you bring it up, is you should see how the talent recruiting that Apple tries to do from Microsoft staff. It always cracks me up when you hear about it in the back end of the industry. Anyways,
picking them off, yeah.
Don't get me started about Apple.
Me neither, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So speaking of companies kind of growing and changing, so Quantic Dream, makers of PlayStation exclusives, including the latest one I think we all love, Detroit. They have received an investment from Chinese company NetEase, the same company that invested in Bungie recently, with the news that they are likely going to be moving multi-platform going forward. So this could mean games in the mobile space, games obviously on PC and or Xbox or Switch for that matter. And kind of interesting. There's no concrete plans. We don't know what their next game looks like, but just knowing David Cage and that group, and we can probably expect it's going to be something similar in that vein. But we've talked about this briefly. I think Sony only guys are obviously upset here, which is kind of silly. From my perspective, this is cool. It'd be nice to see those types of games on all platforms.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I can't imagine playing Detroit on my Switch. That would just be weird. But at the same time, I mean, it's good for everybody. I mean, things like this don't really affect guys like us normally.
No.
So it's just, but for those people that haven't got that experience before, either on Xbox or Switch, it'd be really cool for them to be able to play some of these games. What other ones did they do? They did is it Until Dawn? Is that
Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain, that's the one.
Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls, yeah, I always get those mixed up, mostly because I haven't played one of them. So, but I love Detroit. I'm glad more people will be able to play them. This NetEase, I don't know where they came from, but
they are a big company, a lot of money.
Yeah, never heard of them until the whole Bungie thing. So cool, man.
Yeah, so funny question for you guys. Do you think that'll make the games from David Cage be not so sad and cry worthy every time you play them?
Yeah,
like David Cage, man, he's got like such a dark story playing. So I wonder.
Film noir.
Yeah. So kind of.
Yeah,
funny.
I don't know. But, sorry, go ahead, Bert.
I was gonna say Quantic Dream started out being multi-platform, and then they started developing solely for Sony games. So it'd be interesting to see what that means and what the direction means.
Which is kind of strange.
Didn't they turn them down? Was it them that I thought I heard something about Xbox turning down some project from them, but I don't remember what it was. And then going to Sony. But you know what? Anything you see on the internet, who the hell knows? So
yeah. So keep in mind that Quantic Dream is not a Sony first-party studio. They just develop solely for Sony, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 now. But they started out initially on PC making another game. I think it was called like Fahrenheit or something like that. And then they moved over to, I can't remember the other games now that I think about it. Anyways, they had a game that released on Xbox originally. And PC and stuff like that. And then Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls were the ones that started out on PlayStation 3. And then obviously you have Detroit, which is PlayStation 4 only. And then they ported over Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls to PlayStation 4 as a remaster. So I don't know. I just think it's funny because every time I play a David Cage game, I start wondering, man, am I going to just be depressed for a couple times? Is it going to be raining 24/7 in this game like all the other ones are? It's like everything's based in Seattle and someone got murdered pretty much is what they're about. So it's a funny, I love the game. There's just a funny narrative. Every single one is very similar in that way.
So I quickly looked it up. You're right. It's Fahrenheit. Came out 2005 for all platforms, PC, PS2, Xbox, all that. And then way back in 99, they did their first game, which was called The Nomad Soul.
That's what it was. And I think that came out on Dreamcast, right?
Looking Dreamcast. You're right. Good memory, dude.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, so they've just come a weird ways. The relationships with companies are always kind of interesting to kind of see what they end up doing. And I'm always interested with development just because my wife's a developer and web stuff today. So I always hear about the stuff that goes on the back end. And then gaming, you had that being at Awesome. We have so many development studios here that it's always interesting to me to see what they do.
Like the memory, Bert, you're making us seasoned gamers proud here. All right, so Bert, this one's probably for you. I'm going to guess Dan probably doesn't know a lot about this, as neither do I. So Dragon Ball Z, Project Z, is a ARPG coming out. We got the rumor for it a couple weeks ago. We got an official trailer for it this week. No gameplay, but rather just showing that it's a role-playing game in the Dragon Ball Z universe that is going to tell the story of Goku. So I am at the end of my knowledge on the subject.
Yeah, so I'll talk briefly on it. I did watch the trailer, and the graphics look similar to something that was based in the Budokai world. So that is the fighter that was initially released by Bandai Namco. And they really didn't show that much gameplay as to how you'll be playing and interacting with fighting systems or anything along like that. But it does look interesting. The only thing that I'm getting worried about is kind of like I do with the Star Wars franchise is that they're going to start just releasing too many Dragon Ball things because they re-released the series, the manga in Japan, and now it's Dragon Ball Super. Then they have 2 movies that have come out since then. Then they have Dragon Ball Fighters has come out, and now there's an ARPG coming. So there's just a lot of Dragon Ball stuff coming from a series that ended, 10, 15 years ago in Japan. So I wonder if it's going to be good. The trailer didn't really give us much aside from the fact that it's coming and they're working on a project. So similar to the Project Octopath, that was the trailer that released there and said, we're working on this, and it looked really cool, and you got a slight hint. And a lot more than they gave us like on Metroid Prime and stuff. But it's cool to see that they're working on this. If it's released properly, we'll see how it goes. The only thing is that if they're going to do the same story from Goku, they've done it about 15 times now in different ways, whether it be anime, whether it be a fighting game, whatever it is, they've done it a number of times. So how is this going to be different from the other Dragon Ball Z Goku stories?
And Goku, he's also in Jump Force, right?
Yeah, he is a character in Jump Force. There's also Frieza, who's like his nemesis. I guess his Joker to Batman. He's the same thing. He's been around for a while. A lot of people like him, so we'll see if that means anything. They have talked about more Dragon Ball characters coming into Jump Force as well, so we'll see what that means.
One might say Skeletor to He-Man.
There you go. That's correct. Lex Luthor to your Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, I don't think you have much.
I have no idea what he said.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move past this. So, Machinima, who makers of all sorts of video series, have been kind of an institution for quite a while now. Sad news here in that they've been completely shut down. So, last month, their videos just out of nowhere vanished off of YouTube. Everyone kind of, thought something bad was going on. Turns out it was. So they merged with Otter Media, who is owned by Time Warner, and officially announced yesterday that Machinima is completely done, shut down, and all 81 people who work there are being laid off. This just came out, I think, last night or late yesterday as we record this. So I don't have too much to add here other than it's, obviously bad news. Machinima, I was never a huge fan, but I did watch some of their series over the years. And it's just always sad, as we say, for people related to this industry, even though it's inevitable, that to see just this come out of nowhere and 81 people just laid off. So.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this either. Jeez, man, I'm slacking this week. Is that the stuff they like the red versus blue and stuff like that? Is that
no? That's Rooster Teeth.
That's Rooster Teeth.
Yeah. Okay,
but Machinima is similar in that they did those types of series. They did all kinds of like home produced stuff that was video game related and some other stuff as well.
Right, that sucks, man. I mean, you don't ever want to see people lose their jobs. There's nothing. Nobody said anything about how it happened. I mean, just weird.
That's the only news I got. This was reported. I saw by Game Informer last night that they said the only person who's still there is basically the head of it. I forget the person's name now, and she's already looking for other opportunities. So she's laid off too, but just kind of sorting it out, I guess.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, you hate to see stuff like this happen unless, they deserved it. They said something crazy, racist, sexist, whatever the case is. You hate to see this kind of stuff happen, especially in the manner that it did. It just kind of disappeared as if it never existed. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to watch a lot of their stuff back in the day. I've kind of moved away from the big outlets just because I don't really care for it as much as I used to. But it's really sad to see that 81 people are now unemployed unexpectedly, or maybe expectedly. We just don't know what's happened internally. I'm sure it'll kind of leak out over time within the next few months, years, whatever the case is. Will be kind of cool to see how it happened or why it happened. I'm always interested in that as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, some of these people will start telling their story for sure. Yeah. All right, here's the big news report. Farm Together is taking over social media. There's people playing it everywhere. Everyone's saying this is the best family co-op husband and wife and children game ever made. I don't know what they're talking about. I know that Dan loves it to death. And Dan is here to report for us what Farm Together is all about.
All right. So, gifted by our good buddy from Third Wheel Arcade Van. Played it last night for about 3 hours. Let me...
Damn. 3 hours.
3
You said
hours.
you were playing. I thought it was like a 30-minute game session, not 3 hours.
3 hours. I was gone for 30 minutes where Van actually did a lot of work on my farm, and I came back and I was like, oh my god, it's gotten bigger. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've never played that. Was it Farmville or whatever for the Facebook game or whatever? I don't remember what the hell that was called, but
Hey, it's Farmville. I never played it either, but that's what it was.
So I totally understand where people are loving this game and using it, to kind of interact with their kids, and play with their kids or families. It's, total family game. It's crazy, but it's also got that dynamic where it's, you playing something, you've got to wait for a certain amount of time, and the waiting is what gets me, and it's just, you can't even buy microtransactions, which I guess is a good thing, but I would like to pay to forward some of this, stuff. Yeah, there's difference. It's really actually pretty in depth, and there's a lot of stuff going on in it. I'm going to probably continue to play it, but it's going to be one of those games where it's like, okay, I'm done with Anthem. I'm going to jump back in here, do my stuff. I'll come back tomorrow, for 30 minutes. Hey, you know what? Mike Ibarra and Phil Spencer, they're streaming this stuff. You can go watch them play it. It's a big, big game. I just saw Mike Ibarra tweet with this gigantic farm full of bunches of stuff, and every game's got its pluses and minuses. I think for hardcore gamers, but even then, some hardcore gamers, I don't think it's really their cup of tea necessarily. So, but I can see myself popping in and out. That's one of those games. I understand where the fad is coming from. I understand why people like it so much, but it's going to be one of those games where I don't dedicate a ton of time to, unfortunately, because there's so much other stuff. You know what I mean? But it's definitely got its appeals. It's a cute little game, and it'd probably be really good if you had some kids that are younger and want to kind of get their first experience with like an Xbox or something. But,
yeah, this is not for me. So, Bert, I don't know if you're interested in farming together.
No,
I didn't even know this was a thing. It wasn't until Dan sent a message about it that I once had to look up just a screenshot of what we were even talking about last night. I was like, what the hell? Farm together? So I don't know anything about it. I've never actually seen the gameplay played on a video or anything. I'll probably do that after we finish up here just to see what it's all about.
It's taking the world by storm, man. It's going crazy.
So is this on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, or what are we looking at? What are we talking about here?
I know it's on Switch and I know it's on Xbox. I don't know if it's on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure it's on PC. I think it probably is on PlayStation. I imagine. I don't know.
Funny.
It's getting, I checked the Metacritic. It's getting like a 70 something, from, it's good. It's better than Sea of Thieves.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's actually something to do in this game?
Oh boy!
Oh boy! All right.
No.
Where are we at? Where are we at the next story?
Tons
So it looks like it's just Xbox One and Switch and PC. I don't know why it wouldn't be on PS4.
That's what I don't understand. Yeah, I never saw anything for it, so I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to look up. But the funny thing about these types of games, right? This is probably a small company, and their last game was Avatar Farm. So they have a game like this, and it just becomes that social media hit, And it's probably cool to see because the people who make this game are probably going nuts knowing that this is reaching so many people, and they're, it's like that lottery. They've hit it now, right?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, there's no monetization to it except for the base game. You can't go out and buy extra coins or diamonds or whatever it is you need to build stuff. It's just you got to earn it all. So that's kind of nice, actually, even though there are times where I would just rather buy as much as I could.
So apparently it's on PC and Xbox, and it's coming to Switch.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to look here. Launch day, first play, and maybe it is on Switch. But anyway, it's not on PS4. I don't know why. I would assume it would come eventually. But kind of funny, we wanted to talk about it because we saw it just blew up over the past, like 2 or 3 days. And suddenly all these people are playing it, and it just seemed funny to us. But all right. So closing out on this cycle of stuff here, we've got one big rumor just to chat on because it's really interesting rumor, though we didn't report on it officially because it doesn't seem to have much backing. But a whole bunch of sites now, including all the major sites, are reporting that Titanfall 2 has a battle royale version coming secretly tomorrow, or as you're listening to this today, I guess. We're recording this on Sunday, so it's supposedly launching on Monday. And the reason this kind of came up is that out of nowhere, Respawn and EA had a whole bunch of very, very popular streamers and content creators come out to their studio to play a Titanfall game. But supposedly not Titanfall 3. And so the rumors started swirling, and then people were saying, well, there's a battle royale thing being developed. And now this has turned into, okay, a secret Titanfall 2 battle royale game is releasing this week. The reason this is obviously just a huge rumor is there's nothing official being said about it. You would think that if a Titanfall 2 battle royale game would obviously take quite a bit of development time and polish, to get right, and that you would have to have a big investment to release something like that. For them to just secretly release this suddenly out of nowhere, especially for EA, that seems really far-fetched, and I think that's why we didn't officially report on it. But guys, what do you think?
The quick news I heard about this was that you're not going to be in Titans at all. It's going to be pilots only. So I wonder if they're just running off that engine and things that were there before. I have to say that out of all the shooters this generation, from an MP standpoint, Titanfall was my favorite from something fresh and new. I liked it a lot, including just the pilot combat. I liked it over Call of Duty, over the battlefields, over all of that. And it actually makes me want to go play it again. So I may actually try that again. If this is real and not just some hoax, April Fool's joke ahead in February 1st time, I am going to be trying this out. I need something fresh from the Battle Royale area that's not PUBG, because PUBG is, in my opinion, the best one when it comes to that. But I hope it's real. I want to play something fresh and new. Bring it on.
So Apex Legends, right? Is what it's called. Is that right?
What's that? I don't know.
Yeah. Right. So here's this is fresh news. Breaking news.
Live.
New reports claim the Apex Legends will be announced via an ad during the Super Bowl tonight or last night.
Oh,
these are fun.
So by the time we report here, or people are listening to this, we could already be old news.
Yes, we could be. Now, if that happens, that's crazy. Because that's not cheap. But then again, it's EA. They probably made that much yesterday off of freaking Battlefront microtransactions. So it's probably not a huge deal. But I don't know. I'll play it. I'll try it out. Why the hell not? I mean, I wish there were Titans.
To your point, they usually spend, depending on the size of the game, anywhere from 10 million to over 100 million in advertising, right? So if they just said, okay, we're going to wait, not do anything, and then surprise everyone with a Super Bowl commercial and a release, that would actually be a really unique way to launch something.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, but this whole thing reeks of EA. I mean, it's just a free-to-play game, Battle Royale, and we're going to charge the hell out of you for probably, so much in-game stuff that, you're going to be broke. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll play it once.
Yeah.
I'll probably lose a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if it's free.
It's free, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, go for it.
Well, and to Bert's point, I agree with you, Bert, in that the actual pilot-to-pilot gameplay, take the Titans out of it, was still very fresh and fast. When Titanfall 1 first released, man, it was fantastic. I mean, it's just amazing. And the grappling hook and all the abilities you have, it was really cool. So I could see them doing this really well. And Respawn obviously knows how to make a first-person shooter. So I don't know. Could be interesting. If it's done well, I would say I'd certainly play it over Blackout, because that just hasn't done too much for me personally.
So. We'll see how it is. If it's real, we'll see.
Yeah, well, apparently we'll see before we even go live with this episode. So good times. All right, so let's wrap that up. Let's go ahead. I got an on-the-spot question for you guys today. And that question is, thinking back to your childhood, because we've all gamed for a long time now, what game from the early years, so say, pre 8-bit to 8-bit to maybe 16-bit up through the early 90s, what game from your childhood had the biggest impact on you for the rest of your gaming kind of life? What game do you still think back to from when you were a child and think, man, that's just the game that comes first to mind and that really did something special for you or moved you in a way?
You want to go first, Dan? Or
I mean, unless you know yours, I don't know.
I don't mind it. It's going to throw all you guys off like crazy. SimCity. I played SimCity on PC. At this time, I was pretty much a PC person. I played it on Super Nintendo. I played it at school because I was in computer lit class, and there was a whole learning thing where you had to learn how to build a city and make sure it survived. It kept me playing PC for a long time, and it actually made me get into graphics and stuff like that. And SimCity is what I loved as a kid. I still think about going back to it. Unfortunately, they kind of ruined SimCity, so it's not what it used to be, and it never evolved nicely. But
yeah, watch out for that Bowser attack on the Super Nintendo version.
That's true.
That's true.
Great game.
Yep.
Dan, you got one?
Yeah, I mean, this is going way back, and I don't know if I've talked about it before. I might have mentioned it before. It's called Venture for ColecoVision.
Okay.
And the reason being is that was one of the first ones I ever played with my dad. And he kind of got me into, I remember when he brought that ColecoVision home. I mean, it's a ColecoVision game. So you know what you're getting. You're basically this little guy, little round circle guy with a face, and he's got a little bow and arrow. It's kind of like a little dungeon crawler. And it's, you pick up some loot and you try to collect items, and it's so basic, but it was more just because, being able to play with my dad. And I think, it was just kind of one of those, that one moment that we really kind of connected on this medium, and then from there, I kind of went one way and he kind of went a totally different way. So that was that one game where it's like, oh, we're going to play. It was that and Zaxxon.
Zaxxon was a great game.
Yeah. Those two games I always remember playing with him, but those were two of my favorites. So
that's awesome. For me, I don't know. I've talked about it before, I know, but it's been a long time. It would probably have to be Phantasy Star on the original Sega Master System. It was at the time, I said before, I was a Sega kid. I didn't have the NES at the time. Got Phantasy Star for Christmas when I was 10. Japanese role-playing game back then, very dated, mechanics and very difficult. Played it for a very long time, and it's still one of my favorite games today. But what that did was open me to Japanese role-playing games, and then which led into the 16-bit era with Shining Force and Final Fantasies at the time, 2 and 3 on Super Nintendo, some of the greatest games ever, in my opinion. And just all those later Japanese role-playing games in there, what I consider still to be the best era of JRPGs back in the 16-bit days. So anytime I think of a game from my childhood, Phantasy Star comes kind of first to mind. The only other game, and I was going to say, I don't know, Dan, Bert, you can probably relate. The only other game that really had a huge impact was Doom, the original Doom, because when Doom came out, it blew my mind. I built my first PC, or bought my first PC, I should say, for it, played it, and then that opened up my eyes to first-person shooters and started getting into some of the other PC ones at the time. And then GoldenEye came out a few years later, and into Halo, and that's been my life since then. So,
yep. The other one I could probably mention is Counter-Strike, just because I played the hell out of it. I built probably 3 different PCs throughout time just to run that at its highest. So.
Still play today.
Yep.
All right, Bert. We got one review today. It's going to be Resident Evil 2. Dan has played 28 minutes of it, I think.
That's about it. All on the demo.
I'm still working my way through it, and Bert has played the hell out of it. I think you finished both Leon and Claire's initial campaign, right? And and so you're writing the review for us. Let us know what you think as our biggest RE fan.
Yeah, so to go back, I've played every single Resident Evil, including some of the mobile ones, and Revelations, which is more of like an action one, and then unfortunately 6, which is more of just a shooter that goes crazy. But Resident Evil 2, not my favorite Resident Evil game of all time. I would say Code Veronica or even 4 are my favorites, but it is up there in the top few games. And all I can tell you is the Resident Evil Remake is one of the best games of this generation, in my opinion. I would rate it at a 9 in our scale, and the only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is because I have a few gripes, and if I was to round off, I'd be closer to the 9 scale versus the 10, so it's not perfect in my opinion. But I absolutely love this game. This is the definition of a remake / reimagining of any game that has come out this generation. We've seen a lot of remasters, a lot of remakes, I guess you could call them, like Shadow of Colossus, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, things like that. Those are remakes. This is, in my opinion, a bit of a reimagining because it is completely a new game. They've added new things. They've changed things in the game. Some story elements have been changed, and it's been fantastic. Ains is correct. I did start out with Leon, completed that full playthrough. When you finish that, they give you an option that's called a second playthrough, or a complete new playthrough. And the reason is because when you play as a second playthrough, the character you didn't play goes through all the things you didn't do in your first playthrough. So things are different, things are moved. They both approach the police station, which is kind of the center of the game, differently. And then they go through the mansion differently. And then I'm not going to ruin any spoilers, but there's other stuff outside of the mansion that happens differently. Characters are different, end bosses are different, where locations of certain items are different. And to play the game to its fullest, you have to play it 4 times through. So if you start out as Leon, you'll play Leon, then you'll play second playthrough as Claire. That's one complete playthrough, I guess. Then you got to flip them and play as Claire first playthrough, and then come back as Leon as second playthrough to see what he does. So very important to do that, by the way. Some reviewers didn't quite get the memo when playing the game, and they thought one playthrough was all you needed to do. No, that is very incorrect. So check that out. After you finish both playthroughs, a whole new mode unlocks, which is really cool. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'll just wait till you get there, and you can play that. In my first playthrough, so another great thing about this game is that it's not that long. So my first playthrough with Leon was about 6 hours. My playthrough with Claire was somewhere between the 4.5 to 5 hours, and that's only because I've played them before, so I kind of knew where a lot of stuff was. Graphically, it's amazing. I think it's one of the best looking games this generation. It's not perfect. There's a few lighting issues, a few screen tearing, and a few clipping that happens with a few games, but it's still one of the prettiest games this generation, in my opinion. So even if you scare easily, Dan, I highly suggest playing this game and kind of absorbing things, because there's things that happen in this game that really get your blood pumping, gets you running from something in particular. I'm not going to mention what it is. There's things that scare you, but also you prepare for it as you do stuff. And as you play throughout the game, your skill of the game improves, and then the game throws another curveball at you that you have to learn something from fresh. So absolutely loved it. If you are new to the series and you never played the original one, this is going to feel just like a brand new game to you, something that is new this generation. It does play really well with where we are in this generation. We've seen a lot of older games that try to get ported and their control is still off, doesn't quite feel like modern gaming. This one does. So play this game. I loved it. I can't, I don't know. I can't be more excited about this game than I am. So I absolutely loved it.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I like I said, I'm playing through it. I'm a few hours in, 4 or 5 hours into Claire. I started with Claire for the hell of it. Mr. X is annoying me a bit. We've talked about that. But here's one thing I want to ask you. So, I agree with you in that it's really a well done remake, and they've brought the clunky mechanics from Resident Evil 20 years ago to where it feels like a modern game, which is excellent. We both loved Resident Evil 7 as well. I thought Resident Evil 7 was fantastic. And I actually liked the first person perspective of Resident Evil 7. I thought it was fresh and kind of, I don't know, I feel it engrosses you more in the horror experience. So the rumor came out this week, Resident Evil 8 is in early development. It is going to go back to third person. So they're going to scrap the first person perspective, go back to third person. What are your feelings on that now playing Resident Evil 2 remake that's done third person so well, coming from Resident Evil 7, which I thought did first person so well? What do you think about that?
I'm a traditionalist. I preferred the third person mode because you see your character struggle, you see their body change as they get hurt and things happen. You see things around you differently than you would first person. However, I thought Resident Evil 7 did it amazingly well. So to me, Resident Evil 7 was, in my opinion, almost a reboot of the series. I thought they did it very, very well from like the experience of the game. Some of the stuff just scared the crap out of you. Kind of unfortunate that they're changing it. I wish they would give you like a hybrid to where you could choose what you want to do between first person, third person. But I've always preferred Resident Evil in the third person.
Okay.
So just personal there. Mm-hmm.
So after playing this game and the Resident Evil 7, what do you think the chances that some of the other ones like Code Veronica and Resident Evil 3, what do you think those chances are that those actually get remade now?
There is rumors that RE3 has already been in development in the background after this one. Even Capcom went as far as to ask, what do you think about a Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake? And so the thing that's different here is this one did go through a long development cycle. All they would need to do is use the same elements, the same textures, the same everything, and just bring that into the Nemesis world. So, however, I preferred Resident Evil 2 over 3 just because of the gameplay and everything, but I think it's very possible that it'll happen, especially with the commercial success of Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Yeah, this game was selling something like 40% better than RE7.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's been a big hit. I agree with you. I like 2 better than 3. I actually didn't care for Nemesis that much. I would, to your point, I would much prefer to see a remake of Code Veronica. I thought Code Veronica was brilliant. And, you know, playing that game now on PS2 or Dreamcast is a little rough.
Yeah, it's hard. But it's
nice.
Yeah, I would think that 3 would be the next step, and then maybe Code Veronica, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do think it's a possibility, though.
And it would be really cool to see 4, like on Xbox One X or something, you know, like done up. That'd be cool. So
the only thing is weird is that 4 has been ported to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 already in a remaster, not a remake standpoint. So they would have to do that one from scratch. But Resident Evil 4, from a review perspective, is the highest reviewed out of all of them. So I loved Resident Evil 4, by the way. I think it was something fresh, something different. And I think Resident Evil tries to reinvent itself quite a bit, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. So we'll see what that means.
I know some people have Resident Evil 4 as one of their favorite games of all time.
Yeah, it would be in my top 10. It would be in my top 10, not top 3 or anything, but top 10.
Nice. All right, cool. So check out Bert's written review as well on the site. And any questions for him around Resident Evil 2, let us know. All right, guys. So obviously been playing Resident Evil 2. What else have we been playing? Dan, I know other than Farm Together, which, you know, we've touched on, you've been playing a whole lot of Anthem, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're liking more than you even thought you would.
Yeah, it's really bothering me. So it's just, I don't typically, I mean, I love ARPGs. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't typically get into that kind of game. It's so Mass Effect-y, for lack of a better term, that it's really, really giving me all those kind of, you know, I hate using the word feels, but that's what it is. It's really kind of bring me back to that BioWare glory days, you know, of good Mass Effect and kind of ARPG games, Mass Effect 3 and 2 and even Andromeda. And I think it plays so well. The gameplay works well when the buttons work. Sometimes they don't. I can see myself really getting into this. It's been really, really fun. We had a pretty good time last night, you know, and I'll probably play it some more today, even though there's literally not much else to do. It's just, you know, I'm really enjoying it. Aside from that, I started Final Fantasy 13 for the second time in like 2 weeks. I don't know. It's Final Fantasy, so
13. Yeah. I don't think I ever played 13.
Yeah, it's one of the few that I haven't played. So the one with lightning and snow. And,
right.
Yeah. Okay. So they just got remastered.
Yeah.
Or, you know, did the Xbox Enhanced upgrade or whatever it is. They look great for what they are. They look really, really good. So I'm still kind of pushing through that one. I'm enjoying it, I guess, a little bit. It's just I'm trying to get out of this first area, and it seems like it's taking way, way, way too long to get out there. And I think once it opens up a little bit, I'll probably enjoy it a lot more. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool. Bert, what are you playing besides Resident Evil 2? I know we wanted to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. We were saving that for you, as we typically do. But that game, after 44 years in development, is finally out, reviewing pretty well. Players who were looking forward to it seem to be quite happy with it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll give my full review next week because I'm only about 10 hours into this one, so I can't give a fair shake at it. But if you love Kingdom Hearts, or if you love Disney or where those come from, or any of the old Square games that you kind of grew up with, the game's magical. I mean, it's there's so much charm to it. There's very, very high production value. It's really pretty to look at. Some of the gameplay elements that I've played so far are not as tuned as I was hoping they would be, but it's got a very steep learning curve with how you use the game mechanics. And if you don't do that, if you just button mash it the whole time, it's a very bare game. But if you play a lot of it, it's really cool. The worlds I visited are fantastic so far. The first one was kind of boring, but then the other ones have been really, really good. It's really fun. I'm not sure I'm ready to say it was worth the wait of development cycle, but it's been really fun. Another cool thing that I could mention about it is if you never played the old ones, there's like 6 30-minute videos that explain what has happened in the story since then, which is kind of cool because there is
six 30-minute videos,
3 hours of video.
3 hours of video.
It's pretty long. I've only watched the first few, so I don't know if they're all 30 minutes long. So don't quote me on that. But I only watched the first few because I did play the standalone games, not the mobile games. And one thing to keep in mind is Kingdom Hearts 3 is not a direct sequel to 2. It's a direct sequel to the mobile game, which is called like Drop Sequence something something. But if you played the first 2 and are just jumping in 3 and didn't play mobile, you will still be kind of up to date with what's happened, and you're fine watching those videos to see what's up. But like I said, if you love Disney, I mean, it's something very special to see all this kind of come together. And that's kind of what Kingdom Hearts is about, seeing the Square and Disney characters come together in some weird story. Now, the story is not for everybody, including myself. I'm not a big fan of what the hell is going on, but it's still cool to see the fighting, the worlds you visit with those characters and how you interact with those characters in a really cool way. So I'm enjoying it so far. Also played Anthem. Like I said before, I don't love it as much as you guys do. I think it's really fun. I think the game's going to have one hell of a steep learning curve for newcomers that don't play ARPGs as much as other people do. And funny enough, this is going to crack you guys up, but I think the best thing about the game still is the sound. It is awesome. It is awesome if you can boost the sound on your speakers or headphones and just hear the booms and the crackles and on the lighting things that are happening as well. So it looks really pretty. But man, if you're playing 4-player and you're fighting all kinds of stuff, it's really hard to know what is going on. Because there's so much going on. We played together, as you mentioned, and I got down so many times by things I had no idea what the hell they were. And then at some points, there was just too much going on that I was wondering if my Xbox was going to blow up. So, but it's cool. To Dan's point, it does feel a lot like Mass Effect, but with like Titans or something, if you can add that in there. And then, man, that comparison to Destiny is stronger than ever, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the worst thing to say these days, apparently.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. Really enjoying Anthem. I don't have too much to talk about in terms of currently playing because I'm playing Resident Evil 2 and Anthem, and then other than that, just PUBG, which we've talked about at length. So, but Anthem, I ran it last week about the loot system. I still feel similar, even after playing max level in the demo. I think that there's just opportunities there to really expand the availability of different things for the javelins. But it is a little broader than I initially thought, which is good news. But yeah, Dan and I have played a few hours the past couple of days together, had a lot of fun. I love the world, and it just plays well. It's fun to play.
Mm-hmm. Very polished, even for a demo. I think it's really pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty, looks good, runs good. I've seen some people on PC side having issues, but that's pretty typical of a big AAA game because there's so many variations on PC. And I've heard that the standard Xbox One and PS4 struggle a bit, which doesn't surprise me given the scope of the game. But other than that, we'll see. It's only a couple weeks to launch. Remember, if you have EA Access, Origin Access, February 15th, you can play that game. So less than 2 weeks now until it's officially launched. So. All right, so that's good for what we're playing. Let's go ahead and move on to Name That Game. Dan, you are hosting us this week, and if it is a obscure game from 1964, I'm going to be rather upset with you. So
I was not alive in 64. All right,
what we got? Let's get us started.
Yeah, who's up first? I was up first last week.
You put Ains.
Let's put Ains.
All right, go on.
All right. This is a game. That's the first one. All right. Released in 1992 for the PC.
Oof.
Gosh.
I had to be vague because it's There's not a lot of info on this
92.
game.
All right. Wolfenstein 3D.
Yes. All right. So what are we talking about next week? We're already done. No, I don't know. It's not it.
I thought you were serious.
Would it be crazy if you actually got it from like the first question? That'd have been awesome.
Okay, is that really your guess, Ains, or are you just throwing something random?
No, that's really my
Okay.
Better than
I'm going to go with a game by the name of Quarter 7.
Dan's like, what?
to here. This is Ains. All right, Bert. That was
This
wrong.
is
All right. In 1993, this game was ported to the Sega Genesis.
Holy crap. 90.
The game I always bring up, Syndicate.
No.
Okay.
Yes, that should be your first answer to every question. Yeah.
So that's the game that everybody loved back in the day.
Syndicate. One day it's going to be Syndicate.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit.
93. Budokan.
No.
Jesus, that game.
No. Budokan.
Rough.
Yeah.
All right. There's a reason these first questions are very, very vague, because there isn't a whole lot of info on this game, but it was an awesome game. Okay, number 3. It was widely regarded as one of the most influential games of all time.
Jeez.
93.
In 93 for the Sega Genesis, and
So
92 for the PC.
So a quick question, and it's not really a cheat question, but when that statement was made, was that on PC or Genesis? That opinion
I think it could go for both, and really it wasn't like it was imported. I shouldn't say ported because that's a really bad. I should go back. It was made for the PC and then also developed for the Genesis. I mean, it was ported, but
very
two
different
separate.
games.
Yeah, there were two separate people developing it, but same game, pretty much.
I need to steal your guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Sid Meier's Pirates.
That is not it. I like that game though.
93.
Man, you're in my wheelhouse here. Early 90s Genesis, and I'm going blank again.
You guys will get this for sure.
Most influential game potentially of all time.
Not the one, but one of the most influential games.
Jeez. Golden Axe.
No. Nope. Number 4.
Bert always be going to Golden Axe.
Yep.
Great game.
Still not Golden Axe. It was actually ported to Android in 2013.
Oh man.
I've got it on my phone right now. That's a free one.
This is going to be one of those games.
Maybe.
Jesus. 93. Phantasy Star.
Gosh. No.
Oh, no. That's not.
Go 14.
The sequel.
The sequel.
You got it. Oh my god. Android, what can you play?
They ported a lot of their crap over from Sega, so that makes it difficult actually.
That's why it's number 4, not number 2.
Dude, I'm at that point. I've gone completely freaking blank. How do you go blank on Genesis? Like, I owned everything for Genesis.
Did it have a Sega 32 export?
Sorry guys. Doom.
No.
It was not. It wasn't. Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is where it starts getting a little easier for you guys. Okay, so you get to play in the game as one of 3 different factions.
Oh, dang it.
Oh, dang it.
Factions. I know we say it every week, but when you're sitting here thinking about it,
sucks.
Freaking, yeah. 3 different factions. And by the way, we've had people comment that they've gotten it before us the past like 3 weeks in a row, so we're embarrassing ourselves there.
I have an idea what it is, but I don't think it is it.
Factions. No, that's Saturn. Shit. I don't want to hold us up forever here. I've got nothing, man. I really don't. Alex Kidd.
Yes.
Is it Warcraft?
No.
Dang it.
Is that on Genesis? Because that would have been awesome.
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't know. I'm just thinking of influential and.
All right. This one is
Factions.
going to really get you going here. It was developed, so narrowed down quite a bit, by Westwood Studios.
Ah, dang it. Command and Conquer.
That is wrong.
Dang it.
Herzog's Why.
You thought I was going to go there, but I didn't.
Damn it!
No.
All right.
All right. One of the reasons it was so influential is because it introduced technology trees, resource gathering to fund unit construction to this now popular genre, the RTS.
That's fucking Command and Conquer. All
Yeah.
right, go ahead.
And Herzog's Why.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Oh, hold on. What was that called? Oh shit!
This next one will give it to you.
I can picture the box of the game I'm thinking about, but I don't know if that's it.
Actually, not the next one. One after that will.
Oh god, what's it called? Starfield.
No.
I can picture the box. I can't think of the name.
I feel like that game,
guess.
like Starfield, like it probably is a game, but I don't know.
No, it really
Sounds super
is.
generic.
Probably the wrong name.
Resource Gathering came on the Genesis and PC in 93.
Yes.
Jeez.
The first one to do this.
Shit, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to pass. I have no guess whatsoever.
All right, now we're getting
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Aside from the other factions that you're contending with, this should make it super simple. You have to contend with these giant versions of these hermaphroditic creatures that you normally see when it rains.
Battletoads.
Yes, that's the best I could do without basically saying what it is. All right, so let me read that again. I'm even going to take Battletoads as a guess. Aside from
that's my guess. I don't have anything on that.
contend with giant versions of these hermaphroditic creatures that you normally see when it rains. Think about this. What do you normally see?
A toad.
No, god damn it, where are you, in Texas?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
All right.
Earthworm Jim.
Damn, you're close, but no.
Damn
Oh,
RTS.
That's not RTS at all.
Right.
All
Okay. Now this one, this is it. This is
All right,
what we're
come
doing.
on. I got to get it up to this one.
Brains.
Our
Easy
viewers
one.
are like, these guys are idiots.
All right. The game is based off a set of novels and a 1984 movie
Oh my gosh.
starring,
I know what it
amongst
is.
other people,
I know what it is.
Patrick Stewart.
I know what it is. Dang it.
Patrick
Yeah,
Stewart.
I mean, he's in it.
Dang it.
First one.
Should have got this earlier.
I don't think I'm going to get it, Bert, so hold on.
Oh, he's done.
Read that last one again.
I'm going to read the last one for you. I'm going to help you out. This is number 9. Based off a set of novels and a 1984 movie starring, amongst others, Patrick Stewart. I can give you another guy's name, but I won't.
No.
No, Bert
knows
got it. This is my last shot.
No more clues.
I'm blank. I feel this is embarrassing. I should have this.
This is one of the first PC games I ever played. I think it was so good.
It's going to be so obvious.
No, it won't be. For Bert, it will be.
Maybe. I could be completely wrong. I thought I had it before and I was not. I was wrong.
Put them all together, boys. Logo.
He brings out hermaphroditic creatures. That's
Right. All right. Hermaphroditic creature. If I said what it was, it would probably give it away.
I seriously don't have it. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Dungeons and Dragons.
Are you?
No.
Are you passing like I've had to do?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Is it Dune?
Yes, I'm going to give that to you. It's actually Dune 2.
Okay.
But one of the other ones I had was that it actually is called Dune 2, but it is not a sequel to a game, which is weird. It's actually, for the Genesis, it's like Dune Battle for Arrakis or something like that. My number 10 was The Spice Must Flow. If you wouldn't have gotten it from there. Do you know what Dune is, Ains? Please tell me. You know.
I saw it in the theater and I fell asleep.
God damn it.
Damn.
Damn it. Well, I'm glad you got it, bro.
Yeah, that was. I think people that are really into that game back in the day are kind of like got it at number 4 or 5. But man,
Seriously.
that game was hard to play on Genesis.
I don't think I ever played it.
It was very hard to play. There were no saves for that
Yeah.
game either. You had to put like codes to get to that levels. But the thing that I did not know about it, the key elements that first appeared in Dune 2 that appeared in other RTS games, a world map from which the next mission is chosen, resource gathering, like we said, simple base and unit construction, building construction dependencies like a technology tree, mobile units that can be deployed as buildings, different sides or factions, each with unique unit types. This is all first stuff for the RTS genre.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was so groundbreaking as far as, you know, RTS goes. I loved it when I played it.
You
But
picked
I'm a
one of the 7 Genesis games I never played. Damn it.
So, yep.
That's funny you mentioned the whole code thing, though, because one of my favorite old games for Genesis was King's Bounty, and like it had no saves, right? So if you wanted to continue, you had to input this code that was, if I recall correctly, something like 60 letters long.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
It was bonkers. So anyway, all right, Dan, that was another tough one. Dan's coming with the tough ones.
Yeah, he comes in hard.
Yeah, we got to step up our game here.
Yeah, because I always guess. So
all right, cool. So that's closing out Bitcast 44, guys. We've got a couple things up on the site. We have episode 2 of our Backseat Gaming series with Dan playing Shadow Warrior 2. Really, really funny game. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do. Bert created a video this week on the Rabbit Engineering 3D printed console miniatures. So if you've never seen those before, they're really, really neat. They make for good collectibles or good gifts for people who are in the, into games as well. And as usual, we'll be working on some other things behind the scenes here that we hope to have soon. So anything else from you guys?
Nope, just be on the lookout for some new stuff coming. Always fun to release those videos for you guys, and we're always open to feedback, so let us know.
Yep.
Okay. Lastly, I am doing a giveaway right now for either Anthem or Division 2 platform of choice. So you can find me on Twitter. You can find all of us on Twitter. But if you look on Twitter, you can find that giveaway. And I think I'm ending that next weekend as you're listening to this. So if you want to enter that, feel free to. Very simple to enter. So
I'm going to get in on that.
Yep.
So thanks as always, everyone. We will talk to you next week.
Have a good week.
See ya.